Hey y'all, it's me, Latte Like Latte. Welcome back. This is my review of Insecure Season 5, Episode 9. Now, this is like way late. Actually, I'm filming this like after the finale's already aired. But honestly, this has been so hard to do. I had a really hard time doing a review because I'm sad this shit's ending. Just to put it out there, I'm actually genuinely sad. So, let's get into it. Episode 9, there's really two key parts to this, right? Kelly and Derek are leaving LA, heading to Denver, and they're having a going away party with all their friends. And the usual suspects are there, and also some past flames show up. So to set the scene, they're at this party. So Issa brings Nathan, Molly brings Torian, of course Lawrence and Condola are there, and then like magically Dro shows up, and at that point I was like, who else is gonna come? Like Daniel showing back up, Andrew, like, like I was like, is everyone just coming back for their last little hurrah? So the episode starts off with Issa and Nathan looking at a place, and Nathan's just, they're talking about it, they're like envisioning themselves there. And when Nathan is talking about the bathroom, he's like, I don't know who you've been living with, about like the bathroom habits. Like Issa is kind of thrown off guard, and like she obviously lived with Lawrence before, and she plays it off as if it was like her brother who had bad habits. But like as we've seen from the previous episode, Issa is like, Lawrence is on Issa's mind, like we cannot deny it, and she's going through it. Anyway, so as they're looking at the place, the realtor tells them, by the way, like, we've already rented it. You guys were just, so into it. I didn't want to interrupt. So let's get to the scene of the double homicide, the massacre. Okay, no, I'm being dramatic. So Issa and Nathan head to Tiffany and Derek's party. They're like, oh, how's it going? And they're talking about how they're looking for a place. Kelly looks great. Tiffany looks great. I love that Tiffany's wearing Christopher John Rogers. And I'm going to do a whole thing about the outfits on this show for this season, because Shiona Tarini did her thing. Like, she put her foot in it. So anyways, so Issa and Nathan are there. And then Molly and Torian show up. Torian brings edibles thinking like, oh, it's that kind of party. But then when he notices that there's children, he realizes it's not that kind of party. And so he's like, I had a gift, but it was like garbage. And they're like, why would you bring us a garbage gift? But like, he's just stressed because he didn't think it was like a family type thing. Him and Molly decide to take the edibles together. And that just makes such an interesting episode for us. Nathan and Issa are chilling, eating some hors d'oeuvres when Lawrence and Condola walk in with baby Elijah. And, Lawrence can't help but notice Issa. Issa can't help but notice Lawrence, to the point where she, like, takes a bite of a macaroni ball and it, like, burns her mouth. And so Nathan's all like, oh, like, is that your ex? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, he moved back. And he's like, oh, he moved back to be with his girl and the baby. And she's kind of like, yeah. And let's just say awkward, y'all. Like, that shit was awkward as fuck. In the meantime, Condola's like, oh, I see, like, Issa's here. And he's like, yeah. And she kind of just, like, plops the baby on him and goes to the bathroom. Now, listen, I don't hate canola oil. I really don't. But I will say is she is a shit stirrer, genuinely. Like, she just stirs the pot. And it's kind of weird because I feel like she doesn't actually want to be with Lawrence. But in a way, like, she wants to mess with him a little bit. Like, I don't get it. I never really quite got, especially in this, like, season, like, I don't really get what her point is. So anyways, so Molly and Torian are, like, enjoying the edible. Tiffany calls for a speech, and she's just talking about how much she loves the girls, and Derek talks about how much he loves the Papa Posse. And a really, like, fun, like, through line is that Chad wants to be in the group, and he is in the group. He doesn't have a kid, of course, but he like wants to make sure that Derek knows like they're friends, or he wants Derek to confirm they're friends without like Lawrence being the friend. And honestly, I thought it was so sweet. I don't think people like, I'm not sure how many people picked up on that, but I definitely feel like being an adult and making new friends is so weird, especially when you're like introduced to a already established group, because you might really like all these people, but like you may feel like your friendship is dependent on that person that introduced you, right? So I thought it was really sweet that throughout the episode he's kind of like, am I your friend? And Derek like does confirm. Another thing I want to point out is before they show up to this party, Lawrence is staying with Chad, and Lawrence is like, I don't know if I should go to this party because like these are Issa's friends. And Chad's like, why do you care? Like, you didn't even fight for your girl, so like just go. And he's like, what are you talking about? And Chad pretty much tells him like, dude, like you let life happen to you. And I was like, and it's kind of crazy because personally I've been there where you're not like, your life isn't horrible, but you're not like at the driver's seat. So that really informs this episode because Lawrence has his eyes on Issa the whole party. So after the speeches with as Tiffany and Derek are giving their speech, Dro walks in and Molly's like, oh shit, but she's like high, so she didn't realize she said it out loud. And Issa's just like, girl, like kind of like get it together. So anyways, after the speech, the girls all go in the kitchen. They're talking about like how they're gonna stay in touch, and Molly's like high and having a moment. Freaking Kelly slaps her to stop her from crying. And then Condola walks in with the baby. So the girls like all shuffle away, and then Issa and Condola have the most awkward conversation known to man. Issa's just like, it's a good baby, like you guys are doing a good job. She's like, yeah. She knows someone that Issa works with at NBW, and it's like the most awkward small talk, but it happens. So Condola goes off with the baby, and the girls are like, that was weird. So while the girls are in the kitchen, the guys are all chilling, the Papa Posse plus everyone else, and Derek's talking about how he's gonna miss the food in LA. And this was like, just the way these people write, like we just have to give them their kudos, because this talk about barbecue was not about barbecue, but the tension was felt. So they're talking about all the tacos, this and that, and then talking about barbecue. And Nathan's from Houston. I'm not American, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that like Texas has the best barbecue, or is like the barbecue capital. Don't fight me, I don't know the details, but I know that like Texas is known for barbecue. So Nathan's like, yeah, like nah, Texas, like LA ain't got barbecue like that. And then of course all the LA natives are like, nah, we do, blah blah blah. And he's like, no. And then they're like, oh, they're just going back and forth, and slowly this talk about barbecue turns into a fight over Issa. And when I tell you, I thought they were about to get into a fisticuffs right then and there. Y'all, I really thought the fisticuffs was coming, because like it was heated. And so Amal, Issa's brother, tries to like diffuse it, and he's like, oh yo, like my new boo, who was like, that was a really cute side thing too, was saying I'd look cool with this like cut. And Nathan's like, well, I can't help you tomorrow because me and Issa are looking for apartments. And yo, Lawrence's face when he said that, I nearly died. I really did. So now that's kind of set the scene, because Chad put a battery in Lawrence's back about Issa. And that's just kind of the reason why I don't like Lawrence. And I mean, at this point, we all know how it all ends, but like, I feel like Lawrence, like him and Issa have been going back and forth for all 5 seasons, fine. But like, I feel like without prompting, he doesn't do anything, right? Just as, Chad said, like, you're just coasting, like you let life happen to you. Like, it's just like, why did your friend of all friends, Chad, have to be the one to be like, yo, like you didn't even fight for your girl, or you haven't done anything? Lawrence just loves to be out here being cute and dicking down as many girls as he can, like baby or not. So anyways, so that deads that conversation. So we move into the evening. Torian and Molly are having a blast, and they were like really what saved this episode, or what made the episode. I shouldn't say saved it. They're high as fuck trying to find food, and especially the macaroni balls. And so, Dro is at the party. So Molly says, hey, and he's like, oh yeah, like me and my girl divorced, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, and she's like, oh yeah, the girl you brought's really nice. He's like, oh yeah, the dude you came with is cool too. She's like, yeah, he's right there. And of course, Torian's standing right behind Dro. Dro looks like one of the like bad guys from the original Space Jam, like just pulled out, remember? So that's what he kind of reminds me of. And so Torian's just there, like matter of fact, and then Molly just spills all their tea. Like, yeah, we used to hook up. They were in an open relationship, blah, blah, blah. And Dro's like, Molly. And Molly's just like, yep. And Torian's like, all right. And then Joe's like, this is weird as fuck. So he like leaves and Molly's like, do you want like further explanation? He's like, no, y'all are adults. And then Torian throws in that he used to sell Adderall like in uni or something. I'm like, I don't get it, but sure. And so in their quest for like snacks, they like find the room where the snacks are, like the food is hidden, and they go ham. Like they're all in eaten. In the meantime, Nathan's barber buddy like needs keys to get into the shop, so he meets up Nathan and he's like, oh, like how's it going? And Nathan's like, nah, like Issa's ex is here. And Nathan's buddy's just like, do I need to run up in there? Like he can catch a fade. And I thought it was really funny, barber puns. And Nathan's like, nah, I got this. I thought when Nathan said that, he was just gonna be cool as a cucumber and go with the flow. So in the meantime, Molly and Torian are like bonding over the food. They end up in the pantry. And, she's really open and honest when she says that she's worried he's going to get tired of her and like things are just going too well for this to be true. And Torian's like, I'll never get tired of you. I used to hate you. And I'm like, oh my God. They do say love and hate is like a very thin line. So I guess, but I was just like, But they start making out and fucking in the pantry. And I'm like, you do you, Molly. You deserve. You've been through it. We love the growth and, cannot be excited for what's on the horizon for Molly, right? So Issa's taking out the trash and gets accosted by Lawrence. And yes, I'm going to say accosted to the point where she screamed. She's like, ah! And he's like, oh, I'm sorry to sneak up on you. So then Lawrence is like, why did you call me? Blah, blah, blah. And Issa's like, yo, can we like not talk about this now? And Lawrence is doing that thing that men think women want them to do when they like have a point and we do not. He's like pouring out his soul. He's like, I've loved you, blah, blah, blah. Like, things are better now. I'm back. And he's like, are you even happy? Yo, sir, we're at my friend's going away party. What are you doing? And of course he says that. And then Nathan happens to be there. And he's like, yo, what all is this? And then they begin to tussle. And listen, the girls were fighting for Issa, fighting for her love. And I loved it. We love a good tussle. And yeah, weirdly enough, like Torian and Molly were breaking it up and they were high as fuck. Like, why wasn't Chad there breaking it up? And where was Derek? Like, did they leave? But anyways, of course, everything at the party stops and, the fight gets broken up. Nathan's like, nah, like, don't talk to me right now. Lawrence, I guess, just goes home and Issa's embarrassed. Realistically, I think at this moment, if you've watched TV, you know where this was going between the Issa, Nathan, Lawrence triangle. But one of the things that just really like frustrated me was that Issa was put in a position where she really couldn't win, right? Like if you're accosted in such a way, like you don't even have time to respond. So let's say she really didn't care about Lawrence and was like, just like shocked. Like her reaction was going to be delayed because he literally accosted her. And then Nathan fighting, like Lawrence and Nathan fighting was inevitable because honestly, Issa hadn't been honest this whole time. Nathan isn't an idiot. He can see like your reaction to your ex, all this stuff. Like, of course you're going to feel away. Now, I don't really think it was great that they fought at the party. Like, that's embarrassing as fuck. But also the same with Lawrence. Like, it's kind of like, again, I feel like Lawrence is always a little bit too late. Like, dude, since she called him when they had the slumber party with the girls, he could have messaged her. They could have like tried to talk. He didn't. In fact, he was off doing, we know what Lawrence does, probably hooking up with some girl or playing with his baby. Like, I don't know. I just felt so bad for Issa because on one hand, it's clearly like unresolved feelings. And on the other hand, like, yo, how are you going to do this to me? The bright side of the episode was Molly and Torian. Their chemistry was great. They were hilarious. This little odyssey of being high, perfect. When Kelly said she would kill for Tiffany, even Derek, I was like, yo, Kelly's a real one. She's ride or die for Tiff. And, you know, we hope that all goes well. But that was episode 9. My main thoughts is that I feel like we wasted a lot of time this season on a lot of things that didn't really add up to this, if that makes sense. Like, I enjoy the storytelling, but there are a lot of episodes where we could have gotten to this point or like seen other points around like Tiffany moving or Molly and Torian being together, like that we just didn't get. And I like, this was a great episode. But I just feel like, you know, this is probably the best episode of the season. So, on to the finale, and that will be up in a jiff. But yeah, I can't believe our favorite show is going to be done. I'm like sad, genuinely, because, you know, we've seen Issa come up from YouTube, from like Adventures of an Awkward Black Girl, and read her books, like just like seeing the trajectory. And yeah, I'm not ready for it to end, but alas, we're here. All right, y'all, see you for the finale. Ciao.